Let's bring in Katie McFarland. She's the former Deputy National Security Advisor. Katie, all these beautiful, welcome, first of all, and happy Thanksgiving to you. Hope you had a wonderful time with your family. These images are heartwarming. They do bring a lot of, hope, I'm sure, to other families in Israel. At the same time, we see Joe Biden taking a lot of credit, but not many Americans in this first tranche of hostages that have come over. What do you make of how this has been handled, having been in the Trump administration yourself and seeing how they handled situations with hostages and this situation?
Look, I mean, Hamas, they're playing the whole world like a violin. The reason they took those grannies and those babies was they knew this moment would come. They knew that they could string out a ceasefire, some kind of a hostage exchange. They know they can't defeat Israel militarily or economically, but they can psychologically. And that's why they're doing this. Now, of course, no Americans were in that first tranche. They're going to dribble those Americans out until the very end. What they want to buy time. Hamas buys time, and what does it do with that time? It regroups, it rearms, and it gets ready for another round of fighting to destroy the state of Israel. And yet, I can't watch those. I mean, I've got little grandchildren. I watch those pictures. My heart is tugged for the families and what they're experiencing and the worry, are they going to get their little grandchildren back? You know, it just breaks your heart. And Hamas knows that's what it's going to do. And so that's why they're doing it. They want to buy time, and ultimately, they want to look like the good guys in this. They want to look like the good guys who have taken good care of those kids, and they're releasing them to their families. And what they want to do is have the whole world turn against Israel.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think Hamas comes out looking so good, Katie. I mean, in the end, we all know that these are innocent civilians.
Just think of those pictures that you've just shown. It's the kids are looking okay, the grandmothers look like they're okay, and Hamas they get what they want out of this. They get the picture of the humanitarians who are releasing it. Contrast that to the pictures of Israel going after Gaza, where you see leveled buildings. Believe me, they're turning the public narrative against Israel. And the longer this goes on, the longer the hostage situation is dribbled out. And remember, they're getting in exchange for the grannies and the babies. What are they getting in exchange? Israel doesn't have hostages that are grannies and babies. Israel has terrorists who are in jail. That's who they're getting exchanged for. So, okay, but we've all thought we could never be more horrified than the pictures we saw in October of the killing of the slaughter of the innocents. But those pictures have been replaced. And you're already seeing the anti-Israel demonstrations in Europe. You're already seeing China, Russia, Iran, everybody coming out and saying this is all Israel's fault. You're seeing this on American college campuses, and you're seeing it at the base of the Democrat Party. I'm really surprised that President Biden has stuck with Israel as long as he has. But the calls for making this ceasefire not just temporary, but permanent are going to start next week, and they're going to be louder and louder and louder. And yet Israel, if they don't destroy Hamas, if they don't destroy those weapons caches, if they don't take out those military commanders, Israel's going to have the same fight 2 years later.
KT, we're just getting news, breaking news, in fact. Reuters reporting that Egypt has received positive signals from all parties for an extension of Gaza truce for 1 or 2 more days. Your reaction to that, and do you think that the release of hostages we are expected to see at any moment now will go as smoothly today as it did yesterday?
I have every confidence that they're going to make that Hamas is going to make this work. They're going to have these hostage releases go slowly, carefully, and they're going to release the hostages. But they got a lot of hostages. And this could stretch on not just for a day or 2 or a week. This could stretch on for a month. And at that point, the world is going to say, look, we've had a ceasefire. Let's stop the killing. Let's just be done with it. No more fighting. And that's where Israel is going to have a hard time, because if Israel isn't backstopped by the United States with weapons resupply, if Israel has to figure out how to have an economy that works when most of its population, the producers of the population of Israel, it's a high-tech society, they're all being in the military right now. They've all been called up. Israel's playing against the calendar. They're playing against the clock. They're playing against time. And Hamas, They want to stretch this out as long as they can.
Yeah, and part of this is how much does Hamas speak for Hezbollah or the Houthis or other organizations that are loosely connected or are upset at Israel through this fight in other places. There have been 73 attacks on United States forces in Iraq and Syria alone. You know, I look and I go, look, Americans were killed on October 7th. They were taken captive. We have American military in the Mediterranean, and the American military is getting attacked daily. Is America at war here and we don't even know it?
You know, this is the sort of story that nobody's really reporting, and Joey, I'm really glad you brought it up, because this is all Iran. What does Iran want to do in the Middle East? Well, they want to destroy Israel. They want to kill Jews, but they really want America out of the Middle East, and they're going to chip away at it. They're going to chip away at American presence there. So they're going to do these sort of one-off attacks here, there. They're kind of provoking an attack. And what happens if an American gets killed? I mean, I think it's amazing that with all of these attacks that have happened in the last couple of weeks, that an American hasn't gotten killed. What happens if an American gets killed? Are we then in a war with Iran, like you said? America doesn't let American citizens get killed without response. So this situation is not over, and I'm very concerned that it could escalate, not because anybody in America wants a war or because really Iran doesn't want a war either. They just want America out of the Middle East, the same way the Palestinians want Israelis and Jews out of the area that between, they say, the West Bank, the river of the Jordan River, and the sea. The chant is, get Israel out, get the Jews out of all the areas of Israel. Remember, Gaza is not an occupied country right now. It's not an occupied territory. The Israelis, they left 15 years ago. What they want is they want all the Jews and all the Israelis to get out of the region. And so does Iran. Iran wants Israel out, and they want America out. And they're doing it by playing on the psychological weapons that they have at their disposal.
KT McFarland, thank you for joining us and for your insights. We really appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.